young people are smarter than we think, that they're not prepared to buy a pig in a poke, that they are not prepared to put up with the triumph of the material or the mendacious, that even the most indulgent Facebook patron under 21 is seeking something that of value, something of worth, something that will last, something that is permanent and even transforming. And I think that has to do, for example, with the fascination with science fiction, with myth and fantasy. It's the Harry Potter thing. It's looking for something that is ultimately true and good. They are not willing to buy the rather grim, valueless, godless, spiritualist universe which some of their elders are quite prepared to sell them. And I think that that suggests a great hunger, a great desire, a great spiritual movement among the cleverest and the most able of our young people. They know better than to be content with less than the best, and that's what they're seeking. I think these young people have been brought up in a culture of enormous wealth, enormous power, enormous opportunity. The least well-off of them is considerably better than the best of their ancestors. I think they recognize that. They see the signs of success, as the world defines success, and opulence on every hand. They are surrounded by sensation. They are surrounded by violence. They are surrounded by politics. None of these are capable of delivering the goods. And I think they recognize that. And I think there is a desire to find something that will last, something that will endure, something that will not disappoint. And when you do that, inevitably you are tempted to turn back to the elders, to the wisdom of another age, to something that might not seem to have appealed to you in your earlier phase. But your earlier phase, you recognize, was a deceitful and deceptive one. You ask Harvard graduates where they're all going, and they're all going to go, 90% of the seniors in any given class say they're going to 3 cities. They're going to go to Washington to put things right, power. They're going to go to New York to make lots of money, the material world. And they're going to Los Angeles to have fun, fantasy. And I think they come back from all 3 of those cities discovering that, like Oz, there's no there. Washington is not going to turn the world right side up. All the money in New York doesn't spare it the troubles and tribulations of living in New York. And all the fantasy from La La Land doesn't dull the pain of living in a life with no meaning and no value. And that's a modest symbol. I think people say, okay, there must be another way. Maybe Jerusalem is the place. Maybe a pilgrimage to a holy city is the place. Maybe some ashram somewhere. Maybe sitting under a Bodhi tree. Who knows? But there are wiser people than we who years ago have discovered some of these truths. Maybe we even heard them in our youth. And maybe the trick is to try to recover some of that for ourselves now. I think that's part of the excitement. Well, among the things that I find that I have to say to young people, which is a strange sort of conundrum, is I have to tell them that they are of value. They suffer not from a high self-esteem. They suffer, by and large, from low self-esteem. They tend to believe they are the result of this materialistic, mendacious culture. When I am sitting down with young couples to be married, I always ask them, would you like your marriage to resemble that of your parents? Invariably they say, no, thank you very much. I love my parents. Presumably they love each other, but we hope for something better than this. So there is a sense that they recognize the limitations of the world in which they are. They tend to overemphasize their own limitations. And part of my job is to say you can aspire to be more than the sum total of your parts. There's more to you than just a brain or just a body or just a set of marketable skills. And I find, rather than trying to deflate their ego, part of my job is to try to raise it up, so that they can understand that they are, in the biblical phrase, created a little lower than the angels, have been given great power to represent God incarnate in the world, that we are images made in God's image, that there are great things that we can be and do and aspire to, and that they should do that, especially those who are going to raise families. If you're not doing it for yourself, do it for your children, for heaven's sakes. Let them blossom and flourish. I try to reassure them that this is nothing new, that the world has been this way for a very long time, and they're not the cause of the present malaise, nor are they the first persons to discover it. So there's a certain degree of intellectual humility that has to be introduced here. Oh, things are not going the way they should. Oh, woe is me. Come on, get off it. Who are you? You think you're Job? Job dealt with this a long time ago. Of course, most of them haven't heard of Job, so I introduced them to Job. Part of my job is to try to connect them to our rich inheritance, our rich history. But the great line for me is a line of St. Paul, which I use in nearly all of the baccalaureate sermons that I give, and I give a lot of these across the country. In Romans 12, St. Paul yells, with almost literally off the page, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." And I say, those of you who are privileged to be members of a great university like this, and who have had your minds renewed, even if you didn't do much about the renewal yourself, simply being here has been a part of this process, you have an opportunity and an obligation to be agents of transformation out there, to make things better than they are, to make a difference, to find your place, and to exercise that. It may take you a few years, it may take you the rest of your life. But as John Bunyan points out in Pilgrim's Progress, that's a life worth living, a life in pursuit of some worthwhile, ultimate, maybe even unattainable goal. You should do that. And some of them say, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. And of course my reply is, well, why couldn't you? What talent do you lack? What opportunity is missing? What skills do you think you need in order to do that? And when they start thinking about the talents, the skills that they have, and the things that they might need, they begin actually to think, well, what difference might I make? How could I do something like this? Now, surely that comes with more authority from somebody like Bill Gates, who says, look, I'm the richest man in the world and I'm screwed up. I didn't know what I was doing, so surely you can go out and find something. I was interested when Bill Gates spoke at Harvard that not many of the students with whom I spoke said that they wanted to be the richest man in the world. They wanted to find out, given what I have, my talents, my time, my opportunity, what can I do? What can I do to make myself a happier, better person? What can I do to make my world a happier, better place? And in most cases, for most people, it's a relatively small enterprise. At commencement, it's customary to say you're going to change the world. They're not going to change the world. Let's be realistic about this. These kids are not going to go out and turn this tidal world upside down. But there may be certain aspects of your own life that you can attend to, and certain relationships that you can cultivate and encourage, certain places where you can make a difference. The trick is to find those places and to do it. And I think people are searching for that, looking for that. That's what we call looking for meaning, looking for wholeness. Most people experience the brokenness of the world. They want to do something about it. And my job is to encourage them to do so.